Hi, different platforms have different needs. So YouTube wants horizontal video, TikTok wants vertical video, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. Today I'm going to give you 3 ways to produce multi-platform content. So YouTube, TikTok, just different video formats. And I'm going to show you a way with eCam, a way with OBS, and a way with CueCam Presenter. Hi, I am Michael Forrest. This is Square's TV App Lab number 103, where we talk about improving your remote communication abilities. I make stuff like Video Pencil, Shoot, CueCam Presenter, and all sorts of other nonsense when I get around to it. So let's start with some updates. So I don't know if you've noticed, but I've started churning out videos like there's no tomorrow. I decided to commit to making at least 1 video per day. So, you know, the whole point of CueCam is to make it really easy to produce content quickly and easily. So it's about time I start really leaning on that, and it's actually been really fun. So I've been uploading devlogs, so loads of stuff coming through here. I've been putting stuff on my personal YouTube channel, and I've been putting little clips on LinkedIn. Just some of it to sort of talk about CueCam, some of it just to talk about stuff I want to talk about. And I'm generally just keeping it coming. So I'm sort of it took me a while to sort of, you know, I've talked about making that commitment and sticking with it before. So for me, you know, I just needed to figure out what's it going to be, once a week, once a month, once 2 a week. And I just thought once a day, that's doable. And let's say at least once a day, and then I can do 2 or 3 or 4 if I want. So it's sort of that feels so much more sort of exciting. So that's that. And the other thing I just added is recording in Video Pencil. Hey! So I kept seeing people using screen recording to produce videos on their iPad with Video Pencil. So I finally sort of took pity on everyone. But, so here's the iPad, which is supposed to be showing up. Oh look, what a flattering frame to pause on. So basically there's a new record button up here. So you tap that, and you have the option to record the microphone, and you can also record a transparent drawing layer. So we can just hit start recording, and then it's going to do that. So we're doing that, we're kind of recording all our stuff. And then when we hit stop, it's going to sort of quickly give you a little preview of that video, and you can save that to wherever you want to save it. And then you can sort of start a new recording same way. So I think that's a pretty nice user interface for it. I think a lot of people are going to be excited to be able to sort of not have to go into screen recording and do all that all the time. And then you're capturing the user interface. Oh, part of that as well was this. You see this thing? You can now drag that up here, and it can be sort of hidden out the way. So that was something else I kind of did as part of this too. All right. So that's all the updates for now, so let's get on with what I have promised. So, how do we create multi-format content for YouTube and TikTok, among other platforms? I'm talking about horizontal and vertical, but square is obviously another good format. So, you know, we have different needs for different platforms, and the danger of repurposing content from one platform to another is that you're talking to a different audience with different expectations, different context. TikTok people are scrolling through vertically, YouTube people have chosen a thumbnail to click on, or the algorithm is presenting something. So it's kind of a very different sort of environment. And, you know, they may be on a TV, TikTok, they're going to be on their phone, you know. You're also risking sort of if you try and just use your TikTok videos on YouTube, you're sort of risking shadow bans and stuff from YouTube, because I'm sure of that content, because I'm pretty sure TikTok watermarks can be detected by YouTube to make sure that, you know, you sometimes see them, but I've seen them less and less. So I'm sure they've got some tech investment in doing that. So the fact is your audience is going to prefer to see content with the right layout and tone for their favorite platform. Hi, Tony. So today I'm going to show you 3 approaches I have taken to getting content into multiple different formats and just finding approaches. So the first option I am calling the eCam Mega Canvas. So I wanted to record multiple angles and formats into a single video file that I could then edit in Final Cut. So I used eCam Live, but you could achieve the same thing using OBS. So here's what that looked like. So basically I set up a scene, 4K, and just did a load of camera sources. So, so sort of like we've got like up here, you know, well, I'll show you sort of an example of what that looks like. But you see, like I've got my iPad screen I wanted to show, so I put in a little frame, but then all of these are different angles and different things. So here's what that looks like when it's, so we can sort of go backwards and forwards. So you see, like I've got, well, actually this one, you see, like this, I guess this is a different recording where I had the iPad, but this one, what I had here was a screen recording of a Zoom call that I was doing. And both of us were on Zoom. We're actually in the same room. And then I've got like my wide, so we can sort of like zoom in on this and you can sort of like picture, okay, so I can take this crop, or I can take this crop, or I can like rotate 90 degrees for TikTok and take this crop, or I can take this crop, right? So you sort of see, we're basically panning around that, that image. And I found that quite a good way of just like keeping things manageable. Yes, they're bigger video files, but in this case, I think we recorded for an hour, and so then I've got this one file that I can sort of take in and like edit for different platforms. So here's sort of how that looked in Final Cut. So you sort of see, like I ended up like taking a lot of different little clips from that one session, and then to sort of crop it in, so you see it's sort of like cropped in to vertical video there, and so to do that I've had to like rotate it 90 degrees and sort of crop it in and scale it a certain amount. But to sort of make that a bit more convenient, I set up some presets, some little video presets, that so I could just double click the preset and it would show the right crop. Something I did notice is when I was going through on Final Cut all of my different videos that I did in that session, I don't think I ever actually got around to creating the horizontal formats of anything. So it was kind of like a nice idea, but in practice you're still sort of dealing with similar amounts of work, and I probably needed a way to sort of have the one edit somehow, like, I don't know, can I just like double, you know, replace that layer transformation in a copy of the project, and like it just like formats it for the right thing. But you know, it's just one of those things. You know, I had like dozens of these little videos, but I kind of did them all on TikTok in the end. So you know, what does that tell you? So another option, which I think was pretty cool, is this Atom vertical plugin for OBS. So this lets you set up a set of secondary vertical scenes and link them to your primary scenes. I think, you know, so that you can simultaneously stream and record in different layouts. So here's a video from Epos Vox where he's kind of like setting up all his different stuff. So what he's got, like, I'm just going to pause it so I can show you, so sort of run through it. What he's got here is, so here's the sort of horizontal scene, and that's going out on normal YouTube, and then this is the sort of plug-in vertical scene. But the thing is, like, you know, you can't use, you know, what works in a horizontal layout isn't really. So look, you see that you know, the horizontal layout looks like this, but the vertical one, you sort of want just chatting at the top like that. You want to be cropped in more. It doesn't make so much sense. Like people are watching on a desktop for this horizontal mode, so it makes sense to sort of be a bit more kind of like zoomed out like this, I guess. And so they can sort of see the room, but you're not going to be able to see anything on a phone screen. So it makes more sense to have more of a kind of cropped in thing. And so, you know, they're just different platforms, and I thought this was a really cool idea, a really cool plugin, but it was sort of like after I'd sort of stopped using OBS so much. But I've linked in the, so there's a post that goes along with this video, this live stream. So if you go in there, like, you can watch Epos Vox's live stream on that, his video about how to do that, and I've linked to that. And I did find this idea, as I said, like quite inspiring, and I actually mentioned it in the eCam Facebook group. It's like a little while ago now, and I said, like, is this something you could think about? But sort of, I ended up sort of resorting to that mega canvas instead in the end, just because, you know, I just needed something now. But you know, if you want this feature in CueCam Presenter, then feel free to, you know, stick it in the Discord and make a feature request. But like, because I ended up going a different way with this in the end. You know, I could have just implemented that thing, but I thought something different might be better. So what we're doing with CueCam is we have this editless video production philosophy where you focus on getting like rich one-take recordings and baking in all those video clips and slides, and just so that you don't have to like assemble it all in the edit. You can just kind of get a baked video and just like upload it. And this is really, for me, a huge time saver. So, you know, with that workflow, if you don't get a good take, you just go again, and then, you know, it's probably, you know, it's annoying when you have to do another take, but they're always a little bit better, a little bit tighter. And I've had that with doing these videos. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it again, but then I'm so glad I did it again because I got it really snappy that time. And then it's just like, you're not editing, you're not like faking anything, you're just like getting better at performing. And then, you know, worst case, you stitch a couple of different takes, and in the end it just saves you hours of production time, honestly, like so much time. So there's you know, CueCam's content editing workflow is also presentation agnostic, and this is where, you know, this is where it gets interesting. So CueCam's presentation editor doesn't make you lay out design on a canvas, so you're not like doing that OBS or Ecamm thing where it's like, okay, this is there in X, Y coordinates on this canvas, and then if you change the shape of the canvas, everything that's over here is sort of like gone, because like it's just a really crude way of laying things out. So with CueCam, you're actually just giving it the content, and then CueCam takes care of the layout. So you're adding titles, text, attachments, videos, screen shares, and then CueCam is like handling the layout. And you might tweak it a little bit between the different versions, but really CueCam's doing the bulk of the work there, and you know, I'm making decisions about what looks better horizontal, what looks better vertical. So, you know, the key is it creates all of, you know, different layouts from the same script, right? Which is the whole point. So here's an example, a recent video I put on YouTube. Maybe I should hide myself. This is, you know, I'm picture in picture here, and I've got like a big video in the background. And then if we compare that to the same thing, this is like the same part of the video, but it's on TikTok. So here we've got like a nice big horizontal video. On this one, I've like zoomed right in. It's a slightly different part of the video. I've kind of put the video up there, and then I'm sort of taking up a bit more space down the bottom, and it's just a bit more of a natural layout for TikTok. And then I had a couple of press quotes, so, you know, I put them like this on YouTube, so it's sort of like all taking up all this space on the left, and that's, you know, that looks good on YouTube. But then when you come to TikTok, you know, I kind of go top to bottom. And so we sort of like have the quote there and have me down here, and then what you can see is, you can, like, because I can see what I'm doing and it's a live recording, I can like move around the frame, so I can sort of like make sure you can still see me. So if I did this with, you know, if I'd sort of like recorded a take and then I'm like a little bit off center or in the wrong place, now I've got to like do like little jump cuts or like keyframing, like little transitions of my face so that you can still see it. And you know, make sure then the timing isn't a bit creepy and awkward, and you end up adding little whoosh sound effects, and generally making the whole thing really complicated. And just none of this is necessary when you're just doing this like editless real-time thing. So what does it look like as a script? You know, here's what a quotation looks like. You know, we just put in the quote syntax, so it's basically markdown with a little squiggly thing, and you know, I tweaked the fonts a little bit on the cards. But yeah, it just comes like that, puts you centered here, and it just kind of knows what to do. So, you know, and my teleprompter notes are here, so I'm sort of like looking through the script there. I embedded some videos in it, so here, you know, you can trim. I actually put in a long video and like trimmed out the bits I wanted, because I'd made a video ages ago that talked about this, and I just wanted to take these certain bits. But I didn't want to like export 6 times from QuickTime. I just wanted to like chuck the video in and then like CueCam do the trimming. Put a couple of screen shares in, so here's like the screen share is attached, and I've cropped in really close to Xcode, and so that's all kind of set up and ready. And you know, here's what the whole script looks like. So, you know, it's got my text, you know, the white, when it's just plain text, it's just what I'm going to say. Eye contact with the camera is what I'm saying. And then whenever you see sort of these little attachments, it's going to share a screen, it's going to kind of do something else, it's going to trigger this and that. And then here's how that looks. Well, this is what it looks like when I'm recording. So I am, well, maybe I'll just hide myself for a sec. So I am, you know, I'm over here. I'm seeing my script on the teleprompter, and I'm also seeing like what is going out on that teleprompter. So here's CueCam over here. And then here's my iPad where I'm drawing. So I don't know, you could blink and you'll miss that. Let's get the shuttle wheel out and kind of rewind a little bit. So the iPad is, you know, the iPad is here, and that's leading to this drawing here. So, you know, and I've got my, got my lights and this kind of thing. But you can actually do just the same thing. So you don't need a big like EOS, R6 Canon camera. You don't need an Elgato prompter like this, although it is really good to have. You know, with I thought I had a picture of shoot in here, so let me just check if I've I thought I'd taken a picture of what the shoot thing looks like. We'll see if it doesn't appear when I'm showing you, because I've got the tripod set up and everything. But yeah, here is CueCam's recording workflow. So basically, to record in CueCam, you've got a big record button in the toolbar. And that's going to start your presentation, start the recording. If you select a card halfway down, it's going to start from that point in the recording. And then CueCam goes into presentation mode, which looks like this, which you just saw a little bit of in that video. So you can sort of see a preview of what's going to come out. You can see your current card there. Got a little button for the teleprompter there. And you can just like click anywhere or use the arrow keys to go through the cards. Or I'm using my Stream Deck now. Here's Shoot. And if you're using Shoot, so you can use Shoot instead of, you don't have to use all this stuff. You can just use your phone. It can use this camera here. And you see it's got the teleprompter text there, sort of like so you're making eye contact. And you can see a preview of, you see it's connected to CueCam. It says CueCam up there. And you see, it's giving you that program feed as well on the phone screen. So this is all just made possible by all of the stuff I did. Like I put a lot of tech into this so that it all just kind of like solves all these problems seamlessly for you that otherwise would take a lot of configuration and mucking about. And if you have a Stream Deck, there's a record button with a timer on it. Things look very dusty when you go close up on them, don't they? And then, like when you've finished a recording, I've got a little kind of show file button, but I've also got this, you can mark a take as good, mark it as okay. And so I just put that in because and they've got keyboard shortcuts as well. So I put that in because sometimes you do end up doing a lot of takes, and sometimes you just want to kind of like mark that on the file system that's the one you want to use. And so I've sort of built that into CueCam. You can record separate layers. So this is with the Suite plan for CueCam. You don't get this on Essentials, but you can record separate layers, like the main camera. So you get so I've got a camera LUT on. So you may have noticed whenever I switch to certain views that my my colors go a bit more washed out because it's a log. I've got my log settings on the camera set up. But you can get the camera layer. You can get like anything you've shared, like videos, screen shares and stuff. They'll go into their own layer. The slide, text and graphics, all those all the text that comes on and the pictures and things, that they will come on their own layer. And then all of your drawings and stuff and laser pointing will come via Video Pencil. And if you use Final Cut, you actually get a Final Cut timeline. I've just sort of thrown that in. It generates this timeline for you with the layers. So you can double click it to open it in Final Cut, or if you right click and show package contents, you can open it with DaVinci Resolve or like anything there's other apps that support FCP XML files. I know DaVinci Resolve does it, which made me think that's probably kind of a standard for whatever I think like just a de facto standard for video editing, files. So there's probably other apps that support it, or you can get plugins that will support it. So I've done it for Final Cut. That's what I generally use. But you let me know if you sort of try it in different apps and it works for you. And then that's going to look like this. So you get markers for each time you changed cards. So as you're sort of advancing through your script, it's kind of just putting markers on there so you know where you are. It's turning the script into captions. I just sort of thought that's quite useful. And then you've got your different layers. So here's like the slide layer, here's the other thing. And by default, it still gives you the mixed layer with everything in it. But then and these other layers are basically just sort of grayed out until you decide, oh, I actually want to kind of like take over and edit that. So I've tried to sort of do my best with how that timeline comes together. I think the timing isn't quite perfect. Like we're not frame perfect on everything because it's recording it through two different subsystems, and I haven't quite figured out how to, I haven't spent the time to line that timing up, and I feel like it's something you can kind of figure out in Final Cut if you need to. So if it's like not quite in sync, you could just tidy it up yourself, I think, at this point. But let me know if it sort of becomes a bit of a compounding problem, and I will And I'll kind of like let you know. And Tim says I've opened XML files into Adobe Premiere. So well, there we go. So I sort of imagine Adobe Premiere, DaVinci, and like Final Cut are the main ones, aren't they? I don't know what I don't know what the other main ones are. But yeah, another thing that we can do. You saw there was that other option where you could check. Actually summarize with ChatGPT, and that will just take your script and via the server it will just generate a little summary of it. So I've sort of done it, I said to do it in the first person, so it just takes the script, summarizes it, gives you a title and gives you timestamps. There's a little bit of a bug here because I made the timestamps appropriate for Final Cut and forgot that they're used in exactly the same way for this timestamp. The thing with these timestamps is they're kind of like, they're useful if you do a perfect take and then you don't trim the start, then they're right. But if they're not, then you sort of would need to adjust the timing of everything. So they're sort of like rarely useful at this point. So I haven't sort of gone back in and fixed that because I sort of want to say, I want to give you the option to like offset them within CueCam. But that's, there's loads of editing ideas I have, and actually like, I'm thinking like, oh, it'd be good to actually like save within the CueCam script which takes cover which slides, which cards, and then sort of give you some sort of editing affordances to do it. But that's in the future. Lots of ideas around that. But yeah, you can find that summary just in that little it's just a little folder of content that comes along with the main recording in Finder. So just go and have a look. And then I think you're going to be surprised at how quickly you can produce content this way, and I think it's good. And it's a different sort of practice. Like, you can either become a really brilliant editor and sort of like make, but I mean, even if you're a good editor, you've still got to do good performances, and this just lets you do the good performance and then like you're done, instead of do the good performance and then edit together a load of stuff. And then the only extra technical overhead is you got to press next. And then you've also got all this potential to like ad hoc switch into sharing something, like draw something, outline something, zoom in on something. Like, you can do a little bit of okay, I'm going to highlight this and talk about this. All these things that, imagine like, I don't know if you've ever tried to like make an arrow point at a thing, like with Apple Motion and Final Cut, you lose like an hour, and then the arrow doesn't line up. It only works for that one script. Like, this way you can just you just get that as part of it, and it's so useful. It just makes everything kind of come together really well. So yeah, CueCam's free to try. You get a watermark when you run presentations is the only thing, and it does grey out some of the more advanced menu options. And the Essential plan lets you do the sort of iPhone as a camera, all that iPhone as a camera teleprompter thing, and then the Suite plan sort of like gives you like access to, lets you use kind of your expensive equipment with it a bit more, and like gives you some other stuff, gives you the multi-layer timeline generation and all that. So that's 3 approaches. So we talked about doing a mega canvas that you can sort of like record all of the different bits in one thing. I mean, obviously you can do multi-clip, but I hate it. Like, synchronizing multi-clip things, Final Cut ends up generating gigabytes of temporary video. I just like, okay, I'm just going to take everything on the one 4K video and then just crop it to what I want. And then I've got vertical, horizontal, like all baked in. Second thing we talked about was the OBS plugin, where you can sort of have your horizontal one, and it will sort of also let you kind of, you can set up scenes that match the horizontal scenes that are vertical, and then it automatically switches to the corresponding vertical scene when you switch. But it's still like, it's complicated to set up, right? And you saw like that time-lapse video from EposVox where he was setting it up. And then the third option is, I don't think I actually showed you what happens when you, well, I showed you like how one script can be used in 2 different formats, and CueCam just takes care of the layout, and showed you some other editing features that, to try and get you to try CueCam, because that's my thing, and that's what I've been putting all my time into, and it's helping me make at least 1 video a day, and no one's complaining about the quality. So, yeah, that's that. That's 3 ways of doing content. And let's see what Tim says. Tim says, whatever steps we can eliminate in the content creation process is fantastic. Less time spent on production means more time available to spend on creativity and inspiration. This is a big deal. I couldn't have said it better myself, Tim. I really think, like, if we can just be ourselves and the technology can do all the technical stuff for us, and we just have to press one button and we can just take a pencil and draw and be who we are and say hello. It didn't work. One of these days live titles is going to work for me. Yeah, I think that's just cool. So yeah, you can come and find us on Discord. There's a few people on there. I might be asleep, someone on there might be able to help. And I'm actually going to sort of go over and just hang out on Discord for a bit now. So there's, you know, with the video feature, because I kind of missed Zoom. I guess this has been a relatively quick one, but, you know, I think there was some lots of information in it, nevertheless. And I was just thinking now of, you know, firing up the music gear, seeing what happens. So what do we need to do? I need to... Oh no, do you know what I need to do? I need to like plug in the... So, first thing is, I've got to take this and I've got to plug in a thing. So this is the cable. I'm going to plug this in. Hopefully everything doesn't go wrong. So once that's there, I'm going to add this as, I'm going to go to the view menu, add audio input, Zoom L20 driver. Now you should be able to hear. Oops. I'm going to take my iPad and I'm going to bring down my standing desk. I'm just going to go over here so I can see my little preview of what's going out. And then I'm going to like hurt your ears by turning this thing on with the sound plugged in. And we're just going to see what happens. I'm wondering if the piano is going to connect. I think this needs Bluetooth, MIDI. Give me this. And then we should get... Wait, I just want to put this somewhere. I've got nowhere to put this. I've got nowhere to put my monitor. Maybe here. And then you get the back of my neck. And I just put these headphones on. Squeak, feedback, noises, hello. Oh, I know what I can do. I can turn off. I really like this view of the back of my head, but maybe I should switch it to shoot or switch it to the iPad. Shall we switch the camera? Sorry, I'm kind of wasting your time a little bit here, but I just thought I just like when it's a bit more spontaneous. So I'm going to take this. Ow! Just caught my finger. I'm going to put my phone in it and fire up shoot. Ow. And see what that looks like. And I am going to see how we feel about shoot as the main camera. Oops, wrong side, so I'm just going to switch that for the back wide camera, I guess. Back ultra wide. Okay, so here we are. Let's see, how's that? reverb on, bit of delay on.